it going, everyone? I'm SquishyJoshy, creative vagabond, taking you on adventures in gaming, art, music, and experiences. And today we're going to be checking out a brand new song by Muse, one of the biggest bands of all time and one of my personal favorites, especially growing up in the early 2000s. Not so much now, as I've expanded a lot of my musical tastes, but Muse were very much one of the main bands that really got me into wanting to be a composer and a musician and a performer. You know, the sort of stuff that they were doing with their production on stage back when they were doing the Resistance tour, where they had the 3 pillars and the screens with all the different visuals on them. Seeing that in person was really like one of the biggest selling points for me in wanting to pursue something in music and hopefully one day be able to do something similar, as I really like the whole idea of live performance and live music. Now, the thing with Muse is they're a bit of a mixed bag. Their earlier stuff was definitely more experimental and synth driven, with some really cool and exciting riffs and piano work from Matt Bellamy. Those combined with his unique vocals and always going into the falsetto voice was really unique and interesting, especially growing up and listening to their music. And I would remember days where I'd just put on my headphones and listen to Glorious or Knights of Sidonia while playing the early Fire Emblem games on Game Boy Advance. And you know, thinking about that kind of takes me back to a time where things were just so much more simple and music was more of just the core driving factor behind what I wanted to do in life. And now it's so much more of a mixed bag as well, since we're covering multiple aspects here on the channel. Music is obviously one of the biggest things that we're doing here, but of course we're also doing gaming, a bit of art and design here and there, and entertainment. So I guess just like there's something for everyone with Muse, they've got like their really spacey, alien themed music, and then they've got their more riffy or poppy sounding songs. The same can be said about my channel, where we're looking at different creative fields. Now, I don't want to be rambling on for too much longer because I want to dive into this. I want to see where Muse is at now. In the past, they've sort of been doing this thing where they would release an album sort of every 3 years, and we've noticed that pattern. It's a bit different now. I think it's been a bit longer between their last album and this upcoming one, which I believe is called The Wow Signal, and it's coming out on the 26th of June, which is pretty close to my birthday. But anyways, as I was saying, I really want to see where Muse is at sonically. Will I enjoy it the same as, you know, maybe older Muse stuff, or should I not have my hopes too high? I think this is the second single, if I'm not mistaken. I think they released another one before this called Unraveling. I don't know if they're going to be on the same album. I haven't checked anything like the track list or anything like that, but this is going to be interesting to me because it seems like they've really doubled down on the marketing, especially for the second single. I really liked one of the first trailers that they dropped where Matt Bellamy was on the pipe organ, and if you know, a lot of the earlier Muse songs that were really inspiring to me were the ones where he was playing the pipe organ. So I wonder if we're sort of going back to that sort of era, or is this going to be something completely new? Anyways, like I said, I don't want to ramble on too much longer because we want to just get right into it. So here we go. This is the new Muse song called Be With You, and this is my first time reacting to it. This is also exciting because Muse are one of my favorite bands, and obviously back in the day when I was listening to them, I wouldn't have been able to make a video like this. Like I wouldn't have been able to make like first time listening to Knights of Sidonia because it's been years since that song came out. I guess this is a way for me to do something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, especially with Muse. And you probably would have seen through other reaction videos that I've done as well, where I mention Muse a lot because I've just got that long time history with Muse. And it's always exciting. Like I've seen other YouTubers that are kind of only just getting into them now, and they're just discovering like this whole new sonic landscape, especially if they're more of a younger YouTuber who's mostly grown up on whatever is currently on the radio. And then when they hear Muse, they're like, whoa, mind blown. Never expected music to sound like this. I can't say that as much for the more recent Muse stuff though. It's definitely taken a different shape in sound. They've sort of abandoned their original sound of the first few albums, and they've gone for this more compressed, riffy, sometimes 80s pop sound. But with that being said, you know, every album is different. Let's see what sort of direction this one is. Okay, interesting. Very cinematic. It's like a blood moon or something. Oh, wow. Okay, I love the typography here. Ooh.
It seems my light's been swallowed up. I've used up every ounce of luck. I need to leap into the fire, find a higher power.
What are those glasses?
And reach for something new.
Nice.
I need somewhere that's safe to run.
No.
It can't just be with anyone. It's got to be with you. It's got to be with you.
Okay.
I won't go quite into.
I'm going to pause it. As someone that likes a lot of old school church music, and I've always just been a fan of that pipe organ sound, that sounded pretty good in my books. It was a good start for a Muse song, especially after a couple of albums of Muse songs. This sounds a little bit like it's a return to form. Don't know, could change. I mean, this part is completely different from what we just heard in that first bit, but the synth arpeggiated thing is always something that they've been doing as well, like that very Muse. It does seem like they're borrowing from multiple styles that they've done in the past, but this one definitely feels a bit more fresh, I suppose. It's good to see that they're bringing back the pipe organ, an excuse to have another pipe organ song. They only have a few, but Matt sort of has a way of making that sort of sound unique to him. But I was very taken aback with the fact that the start was just Matt and the pipe organ and nothing else. So it was like just a whole verse and chorus, which seems intentional. It seems like they're doing it in a way to build things up. That also happens in like old school church music, you know, like whoever would be the pianist or organist at a church on a Sunday morning usually start with a solo first verse, often so people would get the tune or whatever it is. And then when the second verse comes, the rest of the band join in. And yeah, it's interesting that they've gone for that approach. I do think that perhaps it may have some sort of link to the lyrics. I mean, I'm not looking at the lyrics right now, but I've been listening to it as we're going through, and he's talking about like a higher power kind of thing and wanting to seek that. So I feel like there's a bit of a connection between that and the style of music that's being played. But now we're sort of getting into this next part of the song where the instruments are coming in and there's this synth arpeggiation happening. And yeah, I'm kind of interested to see where it goes from here. There's a lot of aspects that I do like about this. It does seem like it's going back to sort of older Muse stuff and veering away from that 80s vibe that they were riding on for a bit with Simulation Theory and parts of the album after that. I think Will of the People, I think it was, where there was a lot of that 80s synthy dystopian vibe, which was okay, but it wasn't like my favorite stuff by Muse. So it's interesting to hear this. The pipe organ intro almost reminded me of Invincible even, which is one of Muse's better songs as well. It's almost like Muse are sort of taking a bit of the Black Holes and Revelations era and bringing some of their newer vibe into it. So hopefully as we continue listening to this now, it will get better. So yeah, let's just dial it back and resume our listening experience here.
Got to be with you.
So interesting use of electronic drums here.
I won't go quite into the night. I'll rage against the dying
It's panning across.
light.
That's
I
cool.
won't bow to the universe. I can break its curse and build us something new.
Choppy vocals as well going in the background.
The sun. It can't just be with anyone. It's got to be with you.
You're still pushing for those falsettos.
It's got to be with you.
Okay. hang on. I gotta pause it there. So we weren't really hearing much of the band up until around the 2 minutes and 30 point of the song. And I'm gonna say this now, that just reminds me of Coldplay's Fix You. Because especially Fix You started with the pipe organ as well, or a organ, and it was just this massive 2-minute section of basically Chris Martin and the organ, and then eventually the band all sort of crash out at the end. And I wonder if that's going to be happening here as well, because it does seem like it's leaning towards that. It's going to be interesting to see how they do this live. I mean, usually Matt sort of swaps between guitar and piano, but they do have that fourth person with them that helps them out live. So I don't know, maybe the fourth person is going to be doing the synth arpeggiated parts, while Matt is maybe on a piano piano that has an organ setting on it, perhaps. I would love for them to bring back the Dalek, that keyboard that people were calling the Dalek. Was it intended to be based on the Dalek, or were people just dubbing it that? I don't know. But yeah, that would be a cool way to still have Matt on the keys, but not just keys, if you know what I mean. Like, you can set it to some other sound. Because in later concerts, they basically just put a grand piano for him on stage. And, you know, while that is cool and impressive, I think a lot more of the Muse experience is unlocked with the layers of synth that they put into their songs. Now, it's quite clear that this song has three very distinct sections. Like, you've got the pipe organ start, you've got the middle section where we're starting to build up and drive the song a little bit, but no real sign of like Dominic Howard on the drums or Chris Wolstenholme on the bass. I'm guessing Chris is doing some sort of synth bass on this, because in the second act, it was more just like these bass swells that don't sound like they're being done on an actual bass guitar. So maybe that's what's happening there. And then, of course, now we're approaching this third section of the song where the guitar is now coming in like the very Fix You by Coldplay. I'm surprised they even went down that direction. Sometimes people like to compare Muse with Coldplay and Radiohead and any other band that's in that similar sonic space. Although Coldplay seem to have a lot more songs in the major key, especially more recently. Muse definitely experiment a bit more sonically, but yeah, it's very interesting to see this kind of poppier sound, I suppose, coming from Muse. Now, I really wonder if it's going to take off like Fix You, or is it going to be something different that we're not going to expect? I'm not sure. This is my first time listening to it, so let's dial it back and see where they go from here.
It's got to be with you.
See, the ride coming in, just like Fix You. Okay, pulled back. Ooh. Oh, okay. Nice fill. Okay, look, all right. Cool video too, I'll say that. I really like the whole way that they're sort of sticking to the palette of reds and dark reds and stuff like that. Interesting aspect ratio on the video as well. Definitely wasn't expecting the sort of, 4:3. But yeah, I was talking to a few people about this song before I reacted to it, and they were like, oh, don't get your hopes up. It's all right. They were kind of just leading me on with that. Like, it's all right. Nothing special. But as I'm kind of processing what we just heard, I do actually think that it's not so bad. I actually think it's one of Muse's better songs in a while. It definitely feels like there's some callbacks to previous album, like The Second Law, but even like it feels like that, and then Black Holes and Revelations, a bit of this and a bit of that, and they've just mashed it into this one song. The solo at the end perhaps could have been a little more exciting, but I also understand when you're doing this type of music, you want it to be something that's easy to follow, if that makes sense. And because they started it with the whole pipe organ and stuff like that, I guess they want it to be in that space where perhaps people could almost chant the solo live. While that may not be something that every fan loves, there are going to be fans that love it, if that makes sense. So there's going to be people regardless in the crowd that will want to be singing like guitar lines and stuff like that. You see it with artists like the White Stripes, for example, with their song Seven Nation Army, where everyone in the crowd would be going do, 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 do. It's that kind of thing. People also sing Knights of Sidonia. I think Muse definitely know what they're doing in a songwriting sense and composition. But yeah, I think my final comments on this will be like, it's not the worst Muse song, it's not the best Muse song, but there's something there that they can hone in on, I think, and maybe bring back a bit more of the Origin of Symmetry and Absolution vibe, and I think they will end up with a song that really speaks to their fans. But yeah, apart from that, not a bad song. I actually liked it. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. I was a bit more yappy in this one because, obviously I do have a bigger history with the band Muse. I've been listening listening to them for a long time now, and yeah, sometimes they'll drop something that's really good, sometimes they'll drop something that's like, yeah, but at the end of the day, they are one of the top bands in the world, and definitely an inspiration to a lot of other artists, including myself. A lot of my music, especially some of the songs that I've written many years ago, if I ever release them and you guys hear them, you'll be like, oh, that kind of sounds, a little Musey. It's because I was a massive fan of Muse, and I still am. It's just not as big as before. Anyways, I can keep talking about this, but I'll let you guys go. Thanks for watching. Please do like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.